This football must be picked up. It shouldn't be a point line to anybody. You just come in today and be an authority in the game. Do you understand? That need to be understood. I hear a lot of speculative information on the media. They have a lot of opinion. But at the end of the day, what we need to do when the dust settles, we need a team into that office. If not, the differences that existed for the last 15 months will continue to exist. Part of the people will continue to help and develop the game without some relevant part of the community. I think this is an area I want to leave with the people to decide and think about it very well.
We'll come back to you. Mr. Cham, we have heard what Ibrahim has said as an introduction.
Yeah. Well, yes. Ibrahim is a very strong stakeholder in Gambian football because he has been a footballer and he has been involved since then, since I know him on the pitch and off the pitch. And he obviously cannot be counted out. His views are very important to the process. But apparently, where we arrive at the moment now, there is now no turning back into what has happened. For example, to come to the very last part of his deliberations, he said he had opted for a possibility of having a compromise between the two candidates for them to join one executive so that there won't be a need for elections. He argued that because he believed that each of the candidates, and probably the teams they are coming with, may all have something productive to give to football. So he would have preferred a situation where the two can come together. But you see, even before it starts, I and some other people knew that is something that is almost certainly going to fail. Because the sticking point is going to be who will compromise or who will give each other the opportunity to occupy the top job. Because, the two divide of the politics are all entrenched, which means it is a winner take all, So if you have that situation in front of you, it will be very difficult to have one who will leave for the other. So when I look at the whole scenario and analyze from the first 15 months, I realize that these camps are so divided that it is almost certainly impossible to bring them together to have a single executive. It would have been nice, but it just cannot work. That's the reality that I have picked up from this whole scenario. And again, the portfolio he gave to the post, that is definitely very accurate and appropriate at the moment, because that is all the more important because now the bar has been raised in terms of football management in the Gambia. Even those who have never been involved, they now know that obviously where we are going to, it is only the good standards and good practice that is expected. And along the way, the football stakeholders have been further enlightened, galvanized into ask questions about the way the game is managed. So now, as he said, we have raised the bar in sports, or even football, particularly football management. And the next executive, whoever is the head, as he argued, certainly will have to be a very level-headed man who will have to have a solution to all the elements that have affected football, and of course, a cure, or rather, and a way forward for the areas that needs to be developed. We have no problem about that. Now, if you look at the debates between both sides, well, we of course cannot, take sides. But what we can talk on is what is on the ground and the arguments from both sides to see which one actually have or is going to be at the end of the day more appealing to the people. That's the job of the two campaign teams to do. But from what I learned from Modu Musa and from talking to people about him, let me start with Modu Musa. Many people believe, yes, he probably is the most accomplished personality, both profession-wise and maybe age-wise and stuff like that. More accomplished personality among the two, to head any institution for that matter, be it football or be it anything. Okay, that's his fans' view, his supporters' view. But then, of course, the problem now is he allegedly seemed to be close to the normalization committee. We put this to him, whether this was the case. He, of course, dismissed that he has not been put there by the normalization committee. He's his own man. But this is very difficult, very, very difficult, you know, to believe by the other side of the divide. And I think if Mahmoud Musa really want to be a man of his own, he should start by now building an image of his own self and distancing himself from being a candidate of one side, because that's obviously going to help, make his job very difficult to mobilize support for him. Given the fact that the normalization committee had always had quarrels with the other divide of the stakeholders. So, you know, him being allegedly close to the normalization committee obviously would mean that he's going to virtually inherit an opposition party, you know, for that matter, and that would make his job very difficult. He had always maintained that he has never been picked by anybody. He's his own man, and he's going to carry on as his own man. If elected, he said he's going to work as an independent professional man, giving his own thoughts to the administration of the game. That's what he said. Okay, he also came up with policies which he said would help Gambian football. Among them, he believed that, you know, there should be financial stability, there should be a permanent regular source of income that is not just from this FIFA assistance program, FAB. He believed that football stadiums should be able to be built around the regions. He said he wants to do this in 8 years. 8 years. Yeah. And he also believed that the clubs, you know, must inject some professionalism in them. They must have a base, financial base, and other stuff like that. And of course, he said the GFF must be in place to inspire and raise funds to take care of its, and then of course to forge close collaborations between the stakeholders locally and outside. So he gave a whole packet of lofty ideas as to how to manage football when he is elected. And his supporters believe that he is the right person, given his experience was as a professional financial officer, and of course his passion for the game and his knowledge of the game, because he'd been involved in football since as a player since in the 1970s or so. So that is the strength that his supporters are painting. That those are some of the, you know, strengths they think he can bring to association. Okay. On the other hand, if you listen to Mustafa Kebe's arguments, of course Kebe may not have played football in the international level, or probably in the domestic league level, but that doesn't in any way suggest that he has not been linked with football. I mean, he had been, in fact, in the grassroots. I mean, if you go to Serekunda East, he's a prominent figure in grassroots football development. He's a development specialist. He had worked with youths, you know, in sports and even youth activities for many years. Remember, he was chairman of the youth council 4 years or so. In Fajikunda, around there, most of the youths who were groomed to become, you know, accomplished footballers, you know, some of them passed through him and his colleagues' hands. And he has a very strong base, a very respected figure, especially in the Carnival municipal area where he's based. Otherwise, why would he be the president of the Carnival Municipal Divisional Sports Committee and the Serekunda East Zonal Sports Committee, as well as president of Steve Biko? So he obviously has some substance and connection with football for him to be there. And his supporters said he is youthful and probably the one who is never tempted with any of the, you know, imagined or real, you know, obstacles that might have come in football. So he's a fresh listing. Having said that, of course, you will see that his critics really associate himself with the camp that have been banned. So he too also have to work very hard to dissect himself from not being the candidate of the aggrieved side. So his opponents are seeing him with that notion. So these are the two, I mean, and of course he also had visionary visionary ideas, very visionary ideas how to manage football, because he had always said he has not been a stakeholder. He had even spent money, his own resources, to see development of football, club level,